Hi, everyone. Today is Tuesday, August 12th, 2025. Welcome. I'm Jeffrey Morgan, and this is a talk I host twice a week to discuss my experiences on the path of soul transcendence. This offering is brought to you by the Movement of Spiritual Inner Awareness with the encouragement and support of my friend John Morton, who holds the mystical traveler consciousness, which is the spiritual consciousness that does the work that we're doing here today. If you're new to the call, the format is simple. We're going to call ourselves forward into the light, which is calling our awareness forward into the light of God that's already present. And then we're going to chant three Anai hues. Hue is an ancient name for God, and Anai invokes a quality of empathy and compassion. Then I'm going to play a video clip from my teacher, John Roger. And then I'm going to do a reading from Kabir, and then we can talk about whatever you would like. So, let me check if. Oh, it looks like Ron Holnick's on. Ron, would you like to call us forward into the light? Oh, I don't know.
Keep muting me. All right, how's that?
There you go.
Okay. Lord God of all creation, we come before you this morning with love in our hearts. For love is the place to be when we step forward into the reality of the earthly school and move closer and closer to graduation. And for this time together, Lord, we give our thanks. So be it.
If you have gratitude alone for what you've got, just thank God I've got what I've got. Thank God I've had all the experiences that I've had because they've got me this far. Thank God for all of the people who have taught me. Some lessons were real dear. And thank God for that. That deep feeling goes inside and you start welling up with this fervent feeling of the oneness that all is. And it isn't the old sense of count your blessings. You say, I have to count everybody and everything. Then just let gratitude become the measure and send it into the formless. Because gratitude is the key into it. And gratitude, giving you the key into it, gives you the supply out of it, which restores your faith in your ability, and your faith takes a hold of you as dynamic energy, and you start acting in life with the confidence and the direction that I mentioned in the very beginning. It becomes a neat circle of completeness and oneness.
All right. So this is a poem from Kabir. I'm mad. God has made me mad. You are mad if you don't know your true self. If you know yourself, you would have known the One. If you don't go mad in divine love, you'll never know him. Kabir says, I'm soaked through with the glorious gold of God's love. All right. What would y'all like to talk about today? Carlos, your camera's not. Oh, there you are.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hello. Oh, well, thank you very much for the space. Um, I've been reflecting on my relationships with women and a pattern that I sometimes repeat, which is lusting in my mind and
Mhm.
sort of a separation, um, which goes like um, something that blocks me from really connecting with my potential partner or woman or you know and then like shame and guilt on myself for lusting, but at the same time sometimes uh, wish I could lust more in order to be with a woman. I don't know, it's very very twisted, this thing that I've been reflecting lately, and um, it's been haunting me for quite a while, you know. So I thought I would bring it up and say, hey, it's nice material.
So, what's your question?
So my question is, how can I, um, you know, see through these experiences of lusting and lust uh, to make it all okay, and you know, or maybe just see what's underneath the experience, because
Yeah, you have a connotation on lust. Like you've decided that lust is impure or wrong, right?
right there you go, yeah.
So, what you're calling lust is your imagination
Yes,
and
yes, and
having
the actual sexual experience with a woman. Yeah,
got it, meaning that you're not going for intimacy, you're going for physical satisfaction.
exactly. Yes, yes.
Okay. See, it's interesting. On the one hand, we come in with a certain set of karmas and set of lessons. And so to some extent, people may be born with a higher level of testosterone, or they may be born physiologically different such that they have a greater need or satisfaction. It's like being born with a body that doesn't handle water as well and having to drink water more frequently.
Oh, yeah.
So to some extent, there's a physiological component to it. In many ways, it becomes a question of where you place your focus and where you hold the energy of your consciousness. If you judge the lustful thoughts, they do tend to multiply
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
rebelliousness in the consciousness that goes, oh, I shouldn't be thinking lustfully about this person. You may be going through a phase where you're not looking for any kind of commitment or something deeper. And there's nothing wrong as long as you're honest about that. Meaning you enter the interaction and say, hey, I just want you to be clear that I'm in this because I enjoy the physical pleasure of sexual interaction. I'm not trying to enter a long-term relationship. Now, if you enter that by deception, like giving the impression that you're going to be committed or that you have emotional feelings, then that becomes a little less clear, but because deception itself is a very karmic act. Are you with me so far?
Yeah. Yeah.
The discipline for me is more around the integrity of the process. Ideally, if we have the right training and the right focus and the right support when we're entering our teenage years, there's a training and a process by which we carry the energy of the lower chakras upward and we charge the higher chakras. And I'm not talking about raising the Kundalini, I'm talking about something like what we do in spiritual exercises is bring all the energies and the focus and the attention from all the other parts of the body and all the other places that it could be, and we pull it to the third eye center, to the top of the third eye center, and we focus that towards the sound current of God. That may be something that's ingrained, or it may be something that's inherited, or it may be something that is just part of a pattern that you came in with if you're going into lust. Like it's like you're trying to focus on your chanting of your tone and you keep thinking about the naked girls.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's just what you came in with. It's not better or worse than any other karma, and it's not you either. That which is eternal within you doesn't do the lust thing. That's not part of the expression. So it's really okay that you have those tendencies and those temptations, but it can be very, very problematic if it becomes addictive in its nature, because then all of a sudden, instead of taking darshan of the radiant form of the mystical traveler, you're taking darshan of the naked ladies in your mind. And where you place your focus, there will be your
Yeah.
that which is exploitative of anyone or deceptive is a violent action and usually has karmic repercussions. There are plenty of ways to go about being sexual and having sexual relationships and doing all that stuff in a way that is very clear because it comes from the integrity and the loving and the service that you would live the rest of your life. But the problem is most people, they make the sexual expression and the dating this kind of compartmentalized portion of their life that isn't subject to the ways in which they choose to live elsewhere. Like in business, we've had conversations where you have a strong focus on being honest, upright, straightforward, and loving in the way that you work.
Yeah.
And you can do the same in your romantic relationships. And you can also have a lot of sex. There's nothing moral or immoral about that action unless it becomes addictive or compulsive, because any form of addiction is a way in which you give your free choice and give your agency of consciousness away to a pattern of behavior, and you start to lose your connection inward. So addiction is a means by which we're pulled out of the kingdom of heaven and we externalize through the senses by disassociating from the awareness that is present within us. We distract ourselves. Whether that's cigarettes or whether that's alcohols or whether that's sex, it becomes a way that we pull the energy out of the center. What I would suggest is you don't need to judge yourself about sex. There's nothing inherently wrong with any of that, as long as you abide by the same ground rules that you would abide by for everything else, which is take care of yourself so you can help take care of others. Don't hurt yourself and don't hurt others. Use everything for upliftment, growth, and learning. Much of the moral condemnation and all the tropes that you hear, that's just a product of culture and that's just a product of ego. I think the problem is because it's taboo, we start to build a secret shrine to it rather than simply going, oh, this is a compulsion or need of the body. Like some people have a compulsion or need that causes them to overeat. Some people have a compulsion or need that causes them to seek out addictive substances. It's just a karma of the body. It's not bad or good, right or wrong, but I would not worship it. I would simply understand. And if you're in that phase of your life, it's about being really clear with people. And it does you no good to say, I think, again, it's about integrity because it does you no good to say to yourself, oh, I really should be in a committed relationship. After all, I am old enough to be in a committed relationship. That's useless to say because it may not be in alignment with your karma. You may not actually be at the maturity or whatever it is that you need to be in a committed relationship, or you're just waiting for that person, or it's never going to happen. But either way, if that's not what's going on, it actually is very karmic for you to start pretending that it should be going on because you don't really know that it should be going on.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
instead, if you're in a phase where all you need is the physical satisfaction and you have fun flirting, as long as you're very clear about that and that is the intention and the goal of whoever you're with, that can be very clear. And then that comes down to the take care of yourself because you may be picking up a lot of energies and entities and all that stuff. So you might want to be very cautious about who you're sexually exchanging with because there is an interaction between those psychic centers and there is an exchange of energy. So you may want to be conscientious of what you pick up through that action. So you might have standards. So maybe you decide you're going to be a bit of a libertine and you say, hey, just to be clear, I'm in it for the sex, but I only have sex with people who don't do drugs and don't drink excessive amounts of alcohol and don't sleep around too much. That's just
That's
standard.
exactly, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to talk about because I feel that in my previous relationship, I pick some entities, sexual entities, and they feel like a little bit tougher to get rid of, you know.
That's the thing.
And then the imagination, it feels like,
Obsession.
yeah,
So, yeah, so there's a couple different pieces that can come in. Obsessions can come in at the level of the basic self, and that's where you're just constantly thinking about it. And again, that's a distraction from the spiritual focus versus holding the spiritual focus and treating the physical need for sex as just like any other physical needs. You have an ordinariness about it. Possessions can occur if the obsession takes the point at which it's more important to follow the compulsion than to follow your connection to your inner knowing. And then that can invite in a sexual entity or even a demonic form like a succubus or an incubus that can
yeah,
then aggravate and feed off of that energy.
yeah, yeah. Those two guys are the ones that are bothering me. I sense there's the way they speak to me, the way they're, they flirt with me. It's really tough to get around when they,
Yeah.
show up. Yeah.
So I think it's distinguishing between taking care of the body and then it becomes, again, it's integrity. Are you taking care of yourself? Are you picking up a bunch of stuff? If you are, that probably doesn't work for you. And if you can't figure out a way to do the sexual thing and not pick up a bunch of stuff, maybe you put it on pause for a while you figure that out. But it's not moralistic. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, that
There's
I
nothing
understand.
wrong
Yeah.
with you
Yeah.
being promiscuous if you're doing it in a clean, clear, loving, and honest way. There's nothing wrong with promiscuity. The problem with promiscuity is if you're picking up a bunch of energy that you then have to deal with that gets in the way of your spiritual exercises, or if the obsessive patterns that come when you do have sex, you think about it so much that it distracts you from your spiritual exercises. Are you noticing a theme here? You don't want to be distracted from doing the things that are most core to your existence and the most important part. The spiritual focus is the most important thing. And there are some people that can have a lot of sex and they can still be hyper focused on the spiritual thing. And there's some people that can't. So it's again, it comes down to your integrity and how you take care of yourself. Does
Right.
that make sense?
Yeah, it does make a lot of sense. What I'm wondering is, like, Like what?
And John Roger had a really
Yeah,
good book on that. Maybe somebody can post the link. I think it's like Sex, Spirit, and You or something like that.
yeah, yeah. I think I've read that book, but um, for some reason the energies that you spoke about feel a little bit tougher to get rid of, and they do distract me. I sense, like you're saying, and I'm really looking at it from a pragmatic way of, does it distract me from the spiritual focus? Yes, but on the other hand, it's like, how can I also clear that, clear that, and get rid of that?
Yeah. So part
Uh,
of that will be looking at what the opening is and how you allowed them in. So if you start to go through and go, where did I make sex more important than my knowing? What was the moment where I didn't listen to my knowing? The thing is, oftentimes they come in, the moment they come in, it'll come forward when you lose your center and you're no longer listening to the inner guidance that comes through, and instead you're just going towards the sexual gratification,
mm,
or if there's a deception. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, can you keep it clean in the approach? You even putting honesty on it with somebody like, hey, to the person, hey, I just want to let you know that this is really what I've been thinking about. It's not really, I'm not really like trying to do the emotional relationship with you. I just want to be honest with you. So sometimes these negative forms will come in through a deception or trickery. Sometimes the negative forms will come in through you not listening to your knowing. Sometimes the negative forms will come in through obsessive thought patterns. And the way you break the obsessive thought patterns are you can do a pattern interrupt, which could be like a cold shower. Cold showers are really effective. It could be getting up and moving and channeling the energy into more like sports or creativity. So that would be like a pattern interrupt. But more than anything else, you start to observe the thoughts. It's like you catalog them. So you have the sexual thought, and instead of digging into it deeper, you just know, oh, that's a sexual thought about this person. You understand? It's observation. So
yeah,
observation, you to letting go. You could listen to those kinds of meditations.
yeah. So it's not about fighting the succubus or something like that. It's just like moving the
Well, I
focus
just
away.
gave it, and
Yeah.
it may not be that. I think I
So
think it's oftentimes it's easy to create stories of demons and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, even if that's the case, the opening belongs to you. And there may be something that you agreed to or something that you opened up in a past existence. That may be part of that. So, but in terms of clearing, like, you're asking if you're afflicted with that right now because you feel like
yeah,
it?
yeah. I
Oh,
sense, yeah, I sense that.
no. What you have going right now is um, like a cyclical thought or obsessive pattern. And what has caused it to crystallize is self-judgment. So if you do self-forgiveness as the pervert or self-forgiveness as the you go on all the things that are taboo, as it starts to become less taboo in your consciousness, it'll start to become less of a pressure on your mind
Yeah,
because like you're resisting the evil,
yeah,
evil
right. Or
versus
the
clearing it and
pervert.
loving it. Yeah, exactly. All the judgments that you've made of yourself.
Yeah,
Do you understand what I'm saying?
yeah. So is it like I forgive myself for judging the pervert inside of me. God loves the pervert inside of me. I give
Yeah.
the pervert to the Christ and I go free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I do sense the energy dissolving that way. Yeah.
Yeah, I just saw some of it dissolve, so you're right.
Yeah.
You created pressure inside of yourself by judging yourself.
Yeah. It's
Versus,
self-condemnation. Yeah.
because you have a story about what that energy is and that it's right or that it's wrong or that it's good or that it's bad, instead of just going, these are energies of the body. I'm a soul operating this vehicle called the body, and I can direct the energy in a way that is for the highest good of all concerned. Do you understand?
Right. I understand. Yeah.
But it's not
No,
moral. Your
yeah, it's not.
moralistic programming from your culture is causing the obsessive pattern. Do you get that?
I get that. Yeah. I was
So you
born and
clear the
raised in a
judgments and
Catholic. Yeah.
yeah, you clear
Yeah.
that and then exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
You clear
I
that and all
understand.
of a sudden it'll stop cycling for you.
Okay. So looks like a long list.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
When you get neutral about it and just observe the energy of it, and it's not taboo, because sometimes what will come in is when you're a teenager, it'll get entangled with your rebellion from programming.
Yeah.
Do you So then all of a sudden it becomes part of your self-actualization process. So now all of a sudden your obsessive thoughts of sex are connected with your ability to extricate yourself from being Catholically programmed instead of
Yeah.
just energy that's in your body that you get to use in whatever ways for the highest good. That sexual energy is just creative energy in the lower
Right.
chakras, right? The lower
Yes.
psychic centers. You can use that on art, you can use that on writing, you can use that on a lot of stuff. It's just energy. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I'm encouraging you to take more responsibility for the management of the energies of your body, not as a moral aspect, but in an ecological way, like the ecology of the consciousness.
There you go.
You got it?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. I do. I
Beautiful.
do. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. Leanna.
Hi, Jeffrey. Hi, everyone. Um, Thank you for Saturday. It was so beautiful to see you with John. It was just really touched my heart a lot just to see you guys together. And my question was, I'm just still processing what does that mean to come follow me when the Christ is calling me? And something that Phil, I just would love your perspective on. Um, is sometimes I feel when I hear come follow me that I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna renounce everything. I'm gonna renounce the world, renounce all materiality.
Yeah.
And but then it's always been a point of confusion for me being in MSIA and seeing someone like JR who had a vow of poverty, and yet there's so much physical wealth, abundance in this church. Um, and I don't know how to yeah, and then participating in the world, then it's like I don't feel motivated to create money in the world, or it gets passive. And so then I just get confused about that. And if come follow me could also be, well, maybe I can create more joy or more abundance, more happiness, more love in my life if that's also the path of the Christ. So it's more of just a point of confusion that I would love any insight or assistance with that.
Yeah, happy to. I relate to the path of the Christ as primarily an inner path. Um, we're told to seek first the kingdom of God. We're told that the kingdom of heaven is within. We're told the kingdom of heaven is at hand. We're told If you build your treasures in the world, they're going to decay and die. Build your treasures in the kingdom of heaven.
Yeah.
We've heard all these phrases. I think for me, it's really not about the state of the bank account, whether you're a millionaire or you're a pauper. Answering the call of the Christ within is answering, it's having that unconditional willingness to follow. There were periods in Jesus Christ's ministry where he was keeping it under wraps, and people were following him saying, okay, are we going to overthrow the Romans now? Are we going to go do all that?
Yeah.
And he would say, soon. So it's kind of like, is it about actually giving away all your money? Or is it about being willing to go wherever the loving goes? Which might mean you have to actually make a lot of money, or it might mean you have to renounce all the money. It's not about the money, it's about your level of attachment and externalization through the senses. So
Yeah.
to me, come follow me is a call inward and to decouple and unhook the state of our inner reality from the state of our external reality, or what we imagine to be our external reality. I think that for me, one of the amazing parts of that contradiction of being on vow of poverty and yet having money all around you, it's like if Mother Teresa, who was also vow of poverty, wanted to fly anywhere on the planet, don't you think she could have gotten a plane? Don't you think if she wanted to be driven in a Rolls Royce at any moment, somebody would have brought a Rolls Royce to her without
Yeah.
question?
Yeah.
But did she need a Rolls Royce? Did she think about Rolls Royces all the time? Did she? No, there was something very free in the consciousness. Now I realize I'm picking a morally gray example in Mother Teresa, but nonetheless, uh, it's not about what you do. It's about how you relate to what you do, and it's about the way in which we cultivate a kind of detachment where we keep our eyes single upon the higher reality of spirit. Now, somebody like me or yourself, with past lives where renunciation was thought to be the way to spirit, we go, oh, come follow me means get rid of all my wealth, get rid of all my money, get like that's more of a comfort zone, right? That actually sounds like a really nice idea, not having to think about money but then I have this karma in the world where I got to go help run businesses and do all this kind of stuff. It's
Yeah.
it's really it's really interesting to me.
Yeah.
Uh, but so my unconditionality is measured in the opposite direction, where I never really liked money. So I realize that's the crystallization. That's the angel at my gate that's keeping me from going in the direction. It's nice to say, Lord, what would you have me do? I'll follow you wherever you go. You say all that stuff, but then when it comes right down to it, the very thing that you swore you would never do might be the thing that you have to do.
Yeah.
In my case, I don't like being super direct with people. And sometimes the spirit comes in and has me be real direct with people. I like being real diplomatic, and it'll come in and be real direct. And then the person may react negatively. And then I go, and then there's always this wincing of going, well, maybe I'm off or something because why would God want the person to be irritated with me? And then inevitably I look like an idiot because that irritation that they have with me turns into a great revelation for them. And it turns out it really isn't about my popularity contest or my comfort zone. It's about,
Mm.
am I willing to go where God would call me to go and to do what God would call me to do? And it's similar that come follow me comes present in the story of Jeremiah. Like if you did first Jeremiah, He's this little kid being told by God, you're going to have to go to a king and tell him what I tell you to tell him, and you're going to tell him that he's corrupt, and you're going to tell him the kingdom's corrupt, and you're so corrupt that the Babylonians are going to invade. And you're like a little kid. You're asking a little kid to go do that. Now we have all these images of what spiritual looks like. And for
Mhm.
a lot of us, the comfortable form is come follow me. Oh, cool. I get to go meditate in a cave and be spiritual. You know, that's just not how it really works. Sometimes it's like somebody who has less of an attraction to money might get a call from the Christ within that says, you've got to go actually amass a fortune and do this change or do this motion on the planet. And the person goes, wait a minute, I don't even want anything to do with money, but are
Yeah.
you willing to follow, even if it doesn't look like the idea or the image of what you think being the Christ of the time looks like?
Yeah.
So for me, I don't think there's a contradiction. I actually would go, that which is born of the flesh is flesh, and that which is born of the spirit is spirit. Render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's, and unto God that which is God's. We're given all these hints that say we don't need to make this world the condition for our happiness, for our closeness to God, for our loving, for our joy. We don't need to condition all of that. But part of being unconditional might mean making a lot of money. Being unconditional might be losing a lot of money. Being unconditional might be doing both. I mean, I've seen people who were very spirit-led in their life, in the movement, who acquired a bunch of money, lost it all, acquired a bunch of money, lost it all, acquired a bunch of money, lost it all.
Yeah.
And it's like, were they doing anything right or anything wrong? Well, no, it wasn't about that. It was about they needed to fulfill their karma. That's a big one.
Hmm.
And they needed to be honest and in alignment with wherever they were called to go. Now,
Hmm.
it's nice to think that because we feel loving or because we feel whatever, that we know that it's spirit guiding us and not our karma. But what exactly is wrong with being guided by our karma if we have an experience and a lesson we're supposed to have?
Hmm.
Maybe that's actually what the Christ wants us to do because the Christ came to fulfill the law, not to break it. So maybe it's really, really right and proper and well and good that you're just doing your life. But for
Yeah.
me,
Hmm.
that becomes the opportunity to say, I can walk joyfully through my karma while I'm walking with the Christ in the high country, and that there's no contradiction there, that it's happening simultaneously and all at once.
Yeah. Yeah, that feels easier when I'm engaging in the world, more in the world. But with clients, with students, with people, I would say outside of MSIA, um, yeah, I'm really stepping outside my comfort zone. Hmm. The greater opportunity for growth for myself. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's an opportunity to demonstrate that the movement of spiritual inner awareness is what we're all doing. It's not an organization. I
Hmm.
mean, there is an organization by that name, but it's really not about that. It's about supporting an action that's already taking place on the planet with all souls. It's like it became this inevitability when the Christ action was fully anchored, that not one soul will be lost. And that means we're all taking some form of route back home to the heart of God. And some people chose the scenic route, and that's good for them. And some people chose the express highway, and that's good for them. And some people are still spinning around. That's good for them too. But we don't have to worry about it. So maybe you become this demonstration that we're really all in this together. We're really all on this planet walking each other home to the heart of God. We're all holding hands.
And like the tears are just like, I love the Christ so much.
Yeah.
For a long time, for a very long time. And I know that Christ knows my heart.
Yeah, and there's even a greater opportunity, which is this too I have done, you shall do an even greater because I go to the Father. So maybe you are the Christ loving, maybe you are the Christ doing, maybe you are the Christ counseling.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's more like you start to lose the differentiation. It's very easy for me to fall into discipleship and to place a hierarchy and place a separation. It's very uncomfortable for me, but very powerful for me to stop trying to follow JR or Jesus Christ and instead to be willing to be an extension of their presence on this planet.
Yeah. I was thinking of Nancy Carter saying before she passed that she is JR. Love her. God bless her in spirit. Um,
I think that's how it goes, though.
yeah.
You lose
Yeah.
you lose yourself in the overwhelming loving that is the divine presence, and you can't tell the difference.
Yeah. Thank you. Mm.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you. Love you very much.
Love you too. God
I
bless
know.
you. Okay, um, let's look at the time. Great. Uh, Kate Kirby. Or actually, before we do that, David Bloom, are you new to this? Have you shared before? So just do, if you've shared before, raise your hand. No, you haven't shared before. All right. Kate, is it okay if I go with David? I think I've shared with you before. Yeah? Okay. Thank you.
Well, that was very nice and unnecessary, but thank you. Um, Before I ask my question, your video, John Roger talked about gratitude, and I just want to express my gratitude for your work. Uh, Kathy Angelari introduced me a long time ago to USM and the Insight seminars, and I participated in them. It's good to see Ron. And if Mary's here, I have loyalty to your soul under my pillow as we speak, sort of metaphorically, but it was an incredible gift. And so I just want to express my gratitude to you and this group for existing. It's a small pocket of love and consciousness in a collective sea of crazy right now. So it's great to be here. And on loyalty to your soul, which I'm really taking very seriously in my journey of inner awareness, I'm realizing my soul is an incredible guide. Like when I am not loving to myself, my soul is not happy, clearly. And so it's a guide for me to experiment, almost communicating with it as a separate divine entity. What works for you, soul, sort of like a Jungian active imagination dialogue. And my question for the group is, or whoever, I don't know if the group answers or what happens. I'm sitting with how to manage guilt, like how I manage guilt. Because what I used to do is use guilt to really beat myself up. And that was from, a childhood conditioning where I would look for evidence why I didn't deserve love, et cetera, et cetera. I'm very in tune to that right now when I sift through my life and go, oh, you're guilty because of this. You don't deserve to be loving. And as I get older and more in tune with my soul is not happy with that approach. But on the other side, I am guilty of doing certain things. And so I have to accept that guilt. And what I'm talking about doing certain things is I have a family and kids. So a kid, I count my dog as kids, but you do things that hurt people, right? And it could be you're tired or you're lazy or so I'm hurting people throughout the day. It's minor hurt, but there's a guilty as charged. I am guilty of that. But what I used to do is inflate that minor infraction to really beat myself up. And my soul is giving me pushback now. And so, what I mean by my question of managing guilt is I'm accepting a base level of, yeah, I'm guilty. I'm not perfect. I don't want to do these things, but I'm guilty. But the minute I catch myself using that guilt as a bludgeon, I need to push it back. So it's just getting feedback on this relationship of guilt, the soul, and I'm happy. I was just thinking of that literally today, and to come in this group and share it is very synchronistic and magical. So thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Um, there's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah, well, that's how I roll, but yeah.
What you're describing as your soul is a mental image of an idealized beingness. The soul that I talk about is transcendent of the ebbs and flows of your karma. You are judging interactions moralistically, and your guilt is created by the same idealized image that you have created through the mind. And what happens is you create a standard, an idealized standard of beingness. And when your physical perception of behavior doesn't match that idealized standard, you then attempt to reconcile your ego position by creating a sensation of guilt in your body, which then allows you to justify maintaining a narcissistic image of who you think you should be. The soul is transcendent of all of that. There is no such thing as a tarnished soul or an imperfect soul or any of that stuff. It is a unit of divine expression. It is the entire ocean contained in a single drop. And it is not subject to what you're talking about as far as the qualities of the soul expressing in the life pattern that can occur because the soul interfaces with the body through what we call the conscious self. Largely, most human behavior is driven by either the soul's agreement to learn from an experience or the completion of a debt or an incomplete action from a past life. So, your judgment is another karma creating action So you essentially compound the problem. As you pay off one credit card, you're using another credit card at the same time when you judge yourself.
So let me give you feedback. Uh, and I will take responsibility of not describing what I mean by soul, because I
Okay.
think you're jumping to a conclusion that is not what I intended. So when I describe soul, it's a characterization of trying to understand an interior energy with the full knowledge that I'm just trying to understand the energy. I'm not describing it accurately, but my sensation is clearly there is an energy that's upset, there is an energy that's happy, there is an energy that's loving. And so, what I'm trying to do as loyalty to my soul is to be as open-minded to understand what is the energy telling me. So I just want to push back a little. I'm not coming in with a very rigid definition, but to come in with no characterization, it just doesn't serve me.
It sounds like you have it all locked in.
No, I didn't say that as well. I
I'm
said just
not
the
judging
I
any
just
of it. I was observing you didn't say all the things that I said. I was observing the assumptions made in the questions that you posed. So, if anything, it's a reflection back to you of those assumptions. If you want to understand the upset inside of you, that's it, I think definition is the key here because I would characterize the soul from an experiential perspective as more of the witness, that which is witnessing the processes that you are experiencing. So it's the one that is witnessing you experiencing. So when you're talking about upset within you and things of those natures, those are largely the product of causal processes within your consciousness. Even the consciousness that you have, the way that we're interacting, like you could read books on neuroscience and find the same conclusion. It's largely the product of causation within you. The soul is beyond causation. So, what I'm saying is, I guess I could put it a different way. I'm not jumping to a conclusion. I was observing assumptions in what you were saying. And I think that part of what creates, like, for example, I don't believe that it's necessary to experience guilt because guilt implies that you have an idea of right and wrong or good and bad, and that some standard is not being met. I don't believe that humans really know right and wrong, good or bad in the absolute sense. There's always a subjectivity to their perception of that. But the very nature of human beingness is loving. So we can follow the loving in our action, but it's like you could take it to the extreme and you could be like very extreme forms of Jainism and try not to kill bugs, wear the mesh or like not step on an ant. I've not seen that as like an effective way to experience freedom and joy and liberation inside the consciousness. So, because you asked about guilt, you said I think it was something like how do I manage that guilt? Is that accurate? Or did I make that up?
No, that was exactly my question.
Yeah, so I'm sharing a perspective on a different approach to guilt. So the difference is if I answered your question about how to manage guilt within the assumptions that you offered in the question, there really is no solution because the guilt that you feel is part of a process that was set up by your ego in order to justify itself, in order to validate itself, and I think the freedom is in knowing yourself as something eternal that is beyond all of that. And I know that seems very esoteric, but the real key is not necessarily going for the feeling, but it's in observing the processes. Like, as soon as you observe yourself having an emotion, you know that you are not your emotions. As soon as you observe yourself having a thought, by definition, you know you're not your thoughts. Am I making sense?
Well, I think our definitions of soul are different, so that creates a challenge in the feedback you're giving me. Um,
Well,
so
okay,
I'm just listening at this point. So,
I mean, you can forget what I said about don't call it the soul, call it a mermph, call it whatever you want. I mean, the observer, call it the observer.
well, I mean, I started this by referencing the whole Nick's loyalty to the soul. So, based on that work and the teaching and this idea that we're loving beings, we're divine loving
True.
beings. So, when I hear the word loving, there's a soulful, emotional feeling characterization when I hear that. Would we agree on that?
No, because uh, loving at the level of the soul is an impersonal, universal loving. It's not a feeling or an emotion. It can stimulate feelings or emotions. Spiritual love is transcendent of the emotions. It is simply beingness and harmony. It is that which is. It is the only truly existent expression. So I I understand you're relating to it through emotion and feeling, and those are readily at hand, so it makes sense that you would do that. And I can't comment on the Holnick's book. I think they'd probably be in a better position to comment on their book than me. And this isn't really a book club, so I'm not really here to analyze their book. I know them personally and I love them very dearly and I know they're very wise, so I'm sure their book's amazing. So I
Well,
hear,
I mean, when you use phrases like you have it locked in or a book club, I don't like that. I'm just being honest. It's, I'm just asking, I'm trying to understand the various definitions of soul, spirit. I come from a Jungian background, animus. We might be confusing what I define as spirit and soul, but my original question was, um, whatever we have an emotional energy. I use the word soul to it. You may not, but in terms of that emotional energy, so we can agree we have an emotional energy. And I'm saying
yeah, of
this out of complete respect because I'm learning from your feedback. So
course.
from that emotional energy, and let's not fall into spirit soul, it's is it healthy to have a sense of guilt, or should that be purged in some way? So I don't want us to get caught up in that definition. It's more of where you were going. Like I want to hear your take on the guilt perspective.
I think if I think it's a question of preference. I don't think guilt is necessary. I think guilt is an unnecessary expression of an ego position about the way I should be or the way the world should be. And either way, it doesn't actually tend to serve me. What tends to serve me is just loving and serving the one in front of me. And I've never found freedom in the emotions, and I've never found freedom in the mind. and I've never been able to fully understand and comprehend mentally the things that are most important to me. So I put less stock in the mind than I think I used to. So understanding intellectually is less attractive to me at this point. But if it just comes down to like to live a life in the way that we prefer with less pain or whatever that may be, I would say guilt is not, it's just not really necessary. It shows in a sense what I was mentioning before, a misidentification. For me, the spiritual path is very much about what doesn't decay and die. The emotions and the mental processes have an expiration date. And you could describe spirituality more as the pursuit of that which is eternal. And the loving that we are does persist because it seems to pervade all existence. I have, uh, I think that the words that I use might have been associated with judgments for you. They weren't used for associated with that for me. I was more trying to understand what you were saying. When when you look at something like guilt, it all comes from my perspective from the illusion that identity is is a noun rather than a verb, and that somehow this identity thing, or who I think I am, has either met or not met a standard of behavior according to what I think I know about the world. If I get rid of all of those processes and I just love and serve the one in front of me, I'm probably going to do a lot more good for myself and others than if I think about the things that I'm doing wrong. So, from my perspective, it's like when I would volunteer at the Midnight Mission or something like that, I could have a real strong perspective on how good or bad Los Angeles is at caring for the unhoused. Or I could just hand this person their breakfast burrito and give them loving through my eyes. So for me, guilt and resentment and all those processes are all processes based upon the illusion or delusion that this thing that we call ego is real, and the way that I judge the ego is real. The freedom, I mean, you talk about Jungian psychology. Forgiveness is a very powerful method of healing all of that because, for example, if you're guilty that you cause because you cause harm in minor ways and you're trying not to do that, then you have, in some sense, in your inner reality, declared less lovable or unlovable those who cause harm. Once you forgive and integrate and love and embrace those who cause harm, then all of a sudden it's really okay. It's okay that you cause harm. That it's not about being a good person or a bad person. It's about just participating in the way the world works, because from the perspective of the ego, I am causing harm to another being because I projected my experience onto the other being and decided that they feel pain the way I feel pain, and vice versa. There's all these acrobatics around that. But if I just see God loving itself, or if I just see the completion of action, like throwing up a ball in the air and then catching the ball, it's not right or wrong. It's just action and completion. I can't really know the full scope and beauty of that reality. I can't know that. That's why I focus very simply on how do I love this person, not because it's the right thing to do, but because it's healing. Like I'm coming in contact with you, and that means I'm coming in contact with you inside of me. And then I'm healing that. The more that I love you, the more that I'm loving you inside of me, the more loving that I experience. And it becomes very healing. But it's not because it makes sense and it's not because it's moral. It's because it's just the way that I take care of myself. The reason I said what I said at the beginning was because the world that creates guilt feels very confined to me. I think that the sensitivity and compassion that you have is a gift. That sensitivity and compassion is beautiful. And at the same time, I have equal compassion for the you that you condemn that hurts people. And I have equal compassion for all the beings that are supposedly that are within us that are not living up to the standards. So what do I look at? I look at guilt and resentment as simply a means of processing and completing a certain type of karma, neither good nor bad, right or wrong, just a way that the consciousness is attempting to realize that I am love and I am loved, and that's all there really is. So we go through all these very circumspect ways of getting back to that reality, and guilt is one of those strategies of experiencing that. But it's not needed. We can just go straight to the loving and live from that. That's what I would say.
Well, it's exactly what I wanted. I wanted to hear your feedback and your take, and I'm grateful for it.
Yeah, thank you for asking the question. And thank you for pushing back, and thank you for all of it. And I, one of my trade secrets is I connect in very deeply with people I share with. And there is a part there that not as a changing anything or making anything wrong, but just as a I would I would love I think the tenderness in you deserves such gentleness. And I think that the kindness in you doesn't require guilt. I think that the sweetness is just there, and that you're worthy of that gentleness and honoring for what that's worth.
Thank you.
Okay. God bless you. Thank you. All right, everyone. We've gone over a little bit, but I'm wishing you a beautiful rest of your evening. And God bless you. I love you. Peace be still. The blessings already are.